I have a table of values and I need to draw a graph for this table. This is going to be a two-dimensional graph with an x-axis and a y-axis. If you're using your own sheet of graph paper, you would start by carefully drawing the x-axis and the y-axis. Remember, if everything is positive, then the y-axis would go here where they'd intersect in a corner. But when we have negative numbers involved, it doesn't work that way. We have to draw the axes so that they meet in the middle. And that point in the middle represents 0 on both axes. And it's a good idea to label your axes, which one is x and which one is y. And it's a good idea to count squares. You don't have to label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at every line, but at least count by 2s or count by 5s so that people who are reading this can see what your scale is. So I'm going to count by 2s here. And there's not really a rule for how many of these you have to label, but make sure it's clear and make sure you can read it. So now you just graph every point. Remember, the x-axis always goes across. I'm going to see if we can see that better without the light on. There's a little bit of a shadow, but I think you can see okay. I think it's easier to read that way. The x-axis, remember, goes across, and the y-axis goes up and down. So the shadow's from the camera, by the way, and then that was my hand. So the point -2, 13, you start at the 0 point in the middle. That's also called the origin. You go to -2 on the x-axis, 2 to the left, and then for 13 on the y-axis, I would go 13 up. I didn't label up to 13 here, so I might want to add some more marks. Otherwise, I could just count squares. So I would go -2 in the x direction and then up 13 in the y direction. This is 13 because it's right across from 13 on the axis, and it's right above -2 on the x-axis. So that would be -2, 13. The next point is 0, 7. 0 means I do not move in the x direction. I don't move across. I only move up. And I put a point at 0, 7. 0 across and 7 up would be right there. The next point is 1 and 4. 1 in the x direction. Remember, positive is to the right and negative is to the left. And then 4 in the y direction. Positive y is up and negative y is down. So here's 1 in the x, here's 4 in the y, so the point is right there. And then my last point is 4, -5. So I would move 4 to the right. And then for a -y, we haven't seen one of those yet today. For a -y, I would move down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. Notice it's across from -5 on the y-axis. I don't make lines here. I'm not making a bar graph. I'm not connecting these dots to anything. I just graph a dot for each point. Each xy pair makes a point. Then I connect those points to make a line. If it looks like my points make a straight line, in this case they do. Notice how all 4 points are touching the ruler. If it looks like my points are going to make a straight line, then I would get out a ruler and I would connect them with a straight line. I don't start at the first point and stop at the last point because lines go on forever. I can make this line go on forever by picking bigger x values or bigger negative x values and making more numbers in my table. And I put little arrows on the end to show that my line goes on forever. If the points don't make a straight line, then you would kind of just try to sketch a smooth curve between them. You can also connect them with lines, but that's not always the most mathematically precise way to draw a graph. But for now, there are some situations where that might be good enough. So this is how you draw a graph. Each row in the table, each xy pair represents 1 point. You start at the 0 point and you move right or left for x. You move up or down for y. And you know which direction to move by whether it's positive or negative. Positive x is to the right. Negative x is to the left. Positive y is up. Negative y is down. After you have all the points, if they make a straight line, you draw a straight line through the points. If they don't, then you sketch a smooth curve that goes through the points.